Well, howdy, guys. Welcome back to the RedAss podcast. It's Thanksgiving week. We are so pumped to be here. I'm excited. I'm Rob White, fighting Texas Aggie class of 14.
And I am Roy May, fighting Texas Aggie class of 2015. A little rainy day.
Yeah, a little rainy day. For anybody that might be off to the east that's listening to the podcast this morning, a little PSA for you. Enhanced risk, for those who are listening, it is Monday. Enhanced risk off to the east, 10% hatched risk, so enhanced risk for tornadoes even off to the east. Yeah, so it's a pretty volatile day as far as the atmosphere is concerned.
Seems unnecessary.
Yeah, well, we in the weather community, we love to call this we call it the second season. More or less kind of kicks off in November going into December, primarily in the South. And it happens every single year because the same air masses of cold, dry, hot, warm, moist, humid air from the Gulf are still mixing, and it's coming back south because of obviously the temperature weather change. So we are going to experience some pretty nasty weather, pretty warm today, and then it's going to cool off thanks to the front. So
for those of y'all that were completely unaware that Rob is weather nerd.
Hey, they don't call me Rob the Weatherman White for nothing. So trust me, I am no meteorologist. I am not the big forecaster. I'm not the guy that you want that's going to be like, okay, what exactly is going to happen? I'm going to tell you, this is probably what's going to happen. So, like most weather people.
Isn't that kind of the same thing sometimes?
It certainly can be. But yeah, it was a fun weekend. Just to kind of give you guys an update. So it's been 2 straight weeks. 3 gigs per weekend, and on top of that, my one off day was Monday, where getting tires or getting full set of tire replacements, and then recording this podcast, closing my eyes, going to the studio for 2 days, and then hitting the road again. So it was, if you're seeing any bags under my eyes, that's exactly why. We are quite exhausted after the last several days of gigs, but it was a fun experience. I want to thank Corey Kent and his crew for dragging us along for 5 shows and getting to play with Stoney LaRue on Saturday. One of the legends, one of the true red dirt legends of our generation. So it was really cool to share the stage with him again. First time I've done that in 2 years. So pretty cool experience.
I made my annual pilgrimage to Kyle Field this weekend.
I saw that. Looked like y'all were having fun.
Yeah, I mean, I had a good time. The weather was gorgeous. Yeah, it's games like Abilene Christian. The game is almost an afterthought. I probably spent half the time just talking and chatting with folks, and met a real cool couple. Their kid just got accepted to A&M, so they're like brand new Aggie parents, so they're super excited. And
that's always cool, isn't it?
Yeah, ran around, saw some people.
Yeah.
So ran all the way up to third deck to say hey to the kiddo and get a picture.
I saw that. That's awesome.
I cannot tell you the last time I've been to third deck, but I've forgotten how far up it is up there.
Yeah, and I will say, at least with the renovations at Kyle, those kids never had to experience ramps upon ramps upon ramps like we had to back in the day.
I don't know what's worse, the ramps or the stairs.
Oh, I mean, I hate the stairs for my knees.
Yeah, like I didn't take the escalator. And so I just humped up the stairs, and I was like, this is bull crap, man. Give me the ramps back. But yeah, when I saw her, that was her last home game as a Fist. It's like one of those where does time go kind of thing,
It's crazy, isn't it?
But yeah, I mean, the game was whatever.
The win.
I guess we could have scored more. I don't really care. As long as you don't lose those games, pretty much at this point in the season, it's this game, when it's your first or second game of the season, if it's real tight, obviously there's a lot of concern, but there's also still hope. And we've got 1 game left, and we know what this team is. So, and even if we beat LSU, all it's going to do is change the degree of our bowl game, which the temp's not real hot on the bowl game, kind of projections to begin with. So I guess I have no desire to rehash Abilene Christian other than it was nice to see Moose have a good game.
It was great to see Moose have a good game. Incredible catch, of course, that was shown, and the hurdle, that was all great.
Yeah.
And hard to believe this poor guy was stuck on the sideline because of the sleeves, What a thing.
He's a playmaker, man.
He is a playmaker.
It was really cool to see the all walk-on kickoff team. Obviously, that was great.
Yep.
I actually I went a little bit early, went to Letterman's Club, got to see Jackie and hang out for a
Mhm.
little bit. So it's always good to see Jackie.
Oh, it was phenomenal to see
Total
Jackie.
legend.
Hmm.
Total legend.
Total legend.
Um, but yeah, no, it was a beautiful day. It's funny. I've forgotten because I don't generally go to games very often. But when I do, they're not normally the 11 a.m. games.
Hmm.
We got home and I mean, I wasn't footballed out. I mean, I kept football on the TV, but I really didn't pay attention to it much the rest of the day. Just kind of hung
Yeah.
out with some friends and had a great day. Again, the weather was gorgeous.
Hmm.
Um, but then, yesterday, because I'm old, just basically recovered and
Hmm.
relaxed a little bit because
Yep.
it's almost like I'm not recovering like this specific Sunday. I'm not recovering because Monday is going to be like it's going to be a nightmarish work week.
Right.
I'm recovering because I know what's going to happen on the back end of the week.
You're right.
Because basically, as soon as I'm done with lunch on Wednesday, I have to go into prep mode.
Hmm.
So I'll be prepping the rest of the day on Wednesday, so I can get up early because we're actually doing a little earlier Thanksgiving than we normally do. So I got to get up, get everything in the oven, and start doing the rotation on the oven and the times and the temps and blah 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 blah. And then and we'll get to this, yeah, because I'll throw on the Thanksgiving Day parade, like it's something to have on in the background.
Yeah.
It's just if nothing else, that's nostalgia creeping through on your TV.
Oh yeah.
Um, but then 11 a.m. and we'll get to this in a little bit because I want to talk the football game first. But I didn't realize they were playing on Thanksgiving, but at 11 a.m. on Thanksgiving morning, Texas A&M is going to take on Penn State.
Yep. Shooty hoops.
Men's basketball. Um, so it's a bit of a revenge cycle kind of game, maybe.
Hopefully.
Uh, but I mean, we're ranked 13th and they're not ranked. So I can't say I've done a ton of research on Penn State. I know that they're undefeated, but I know it doesn't look like they've played anybody.
Hmm.
Um, what's like Morehead State, and it reminds me a lot of kind of our preseasons, in years past. Like they played Delaware State, Lehigh, St. Francis, PA, and
Mm,
Morehead State. Like
right.
that, and we've seen it, right? You can't build competition early in the season when you're not playing competition
That's right. I mean, your first real test is going to be A&M, and it's going to be a very early game as far as everything
on a
kicking off
holiday on
on a
the road.
holiday.
Like everybody's on the road. It's one of those like little
Hmm.
kind of roundabout invitationals or tourneys or whatever they call them.
Yeah, down there in
But
Florida.
yeah, so I mean, the weather will be nice. But
Yeah.
granted, they're not playing outdoors, so that really doesn't matter. But you know what? It's going to be, and this is just a guess, but I feel like it's going to because it's Penn State and Texas A&M in Florida. The attendance isn't going to be crazy. It's Thanksgiving morning, so when there's no energy in the building, it's your job to bring the energy. And I'm always going to trust a Buzz Williams team to bring the energy.
Hmm.
Um, unlike Penn State, who's basically played what looks like to be D2 and D3 level schools, we played on the road at Ohio State and won.
Yep.
Played on the road at SMU, which that game reminded me. I guess we're just going to get to basketball. We'll get
Sure.
back to football.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was so. You've got the road game at SMU, so now you've tested yourself twice early non-conference, which is kind of new for us as Aggie basketball fans, right? We're used to kind of these Morehead State, Lehighs that Penn State's been playing with maybe one test throughout the entire non-conference slate. But
Hmm.
now early on, you've gone to Ohio State, on the road and won
Yep.
against an Ohio State team, which I said I think that's definitely gonna be a quad one win. SMU, there's no telling it's going to be quad one. They shot lights out. It reminded me a ton of when we played Penn State in the tournament.
Yeah.
They just got super hot. But unlike the Penn State game, we were able to basically kind of trade blows. And going into the locker room, you felt good. You felt a lot better at halftime than you did about halfway through the first half. And
Hmm.
so another good test on the road. Is that going to be a quad one win on the road? I don't know. We'll see if SMU's any good. If they're going to shoot anywhere near where they shot against us, they should win some games this year.
Hmm.
And then turn around uh and it's just another test for us on the road,
Yep.
right? I
Yep.
mean, well, I mean,
Virginia.
no, it's not on the road. That's not fair. It's really a neutral site game. But you got your head right against Oral Roberts, and then you got
Yeah.
kind of an extended layoff after kind of back-to-back road games. You're talking about almost a full week off between games, which is always great for early season legs, just kind of get them back underneath you. So how this game shakes out relative to our resume, I don't know. but again, like I said, like it's a revenge factor. There's some dudes on that team. This is going to be a revenge game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they didn't have any desire to leave that tournament the way they did last year. So again, you got another game. Uh, and unfortunately, like I said, it's Thanksgiving morning. So how many people are going to be there? Are we going to bring the energy? Sure. Then you
Mm-hmm.
got another week before you go on the. I think it's on the road to Virginia. Or is that the same tournament?
I
I think
think
that's a true road game in Virginia.
I think that is a true road
So like
game.
you look at our non-conference schedule this year, and it is just like light years better than anything we've done non-conference.
Well, one of the things we were talking about, in previous years, and one of the issues with Buzz Williams was the early season scheduling. I mean, it's been a case where most of the teams we played haven't exactly been top tier opponents. So, I mean, it's like we went full reversal this year. Let's go get the guys that we know are going to be good road tests and get them rolling. And even like non-scheduled games, when we were playing those preseason matches, I mean, one of those games was against Texas Tech, who we know is a tough opponent. So it's good to see us really laying ourselves out there and trying to build up confidence with those committee members, because they're really big on looking at those early season quad wins, even though that really isn't reflective of what the rest of the season looks like. They value those games, so we might as well
Yeah.
show up in
Well,
them.
well, in the non-conference slate that we had in years past, and even as it got a little bit better year by year, because I understand how Buzz say it came in and like those aren't going to be the games we're going to play. We're going to get there, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Billy Kennedy was the same way. He was a bigger fan of you going undefeated than playing good teams,
Right.
which maybe reared its ugly head in conference play. Um, but because they're important, and the committee has been very clear that these games are important, you've got to
Mhm.
schedule them. Now
Mhm.
you get DePaul this year at Reed Arena. Nobody knew DePaul was going to be 1-5 right now. Just
Right.
lost to San Francisco.
Right.
So it's not like you're scheduling these things a month ago. But as a whole, the lineup are names that when you schedule them are names, right?
Oh yeah, sure.
Penn State, Virginia, DePaul, Memphis.
And
The
honestly,
big ones.
well,
Huge.
even Oral Roberts in the past isn't a bad team, struggling a bit this year, but yeah, been
Yeah,
taking
I mean,
advantage.
you schedule them when you can, but
Mhm.
it's to an extent, it's funny. Like when you think of Memphis basketball, you think of really good basketball, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
generally, yeah, they're very highly regarded program in terms of those mid majors, and that's very important to have those type of teams on the schedule, just because it does build a resume without necessarily being top tier opponents all the time.
Well, and they're 3-0. They
Yeah.
beat Missouri on the road. And I
Hmm.
don't know if Missouri's going to be any good, but Missouri's had a good basketball team the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So again, like the resume that you're building, when it was we didn't play anybody, it gave you like a tiny, tiny, like razor thin margin of error in conference play to make the tournament.
Right.
So that's why I love it. I love the schedule that they've set up. I love the early success that they've had. I mean, to me, it's a revenge game to me too, a little bit with Penn State.
Yeah.
The way they shot us out of the tournament.
Hmm. Well, and something I wanted to really touch on that really kind of resonated with me was honestly looking back at this Oral Roberts game, because it had the feeling very similar to Wofford last year. If you remember, just kind of a lull, kind of a slow start game. It took us a while to get in there, and Oral Roberts shot pretty well from three where we did not. I mean, we were only shooting 9%, and they were shooting 39% from three, and yet it's still a game that we ended up finding a way to pull through despite the weak shooting on that front.
Mhm.
And you found a way to win the game. That's what you want out of these type of games, those type of teams. You're not going to play lights out every night.
Yeah.
So if you can come out and still find a way to win and win comfortably, I'm about
Yeah.
it.
The Oral Roberts game, man. It's a trap.
It's a trap.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, you're talking about Ohio State, SMU with Penn State and Virginia on the back end, and
Mhm.
right in the middle is Oral Roberts.
Yeah. Trap game.
So
Absolutely.
I thought it showed some great resilience of the team to put away a game that, like you said, it's tough. You've been on the road for 2 straight games. It's a lower level competition, knowing that in a couple of weeks you got Virginia and you got Houston, and so it's their ability to stay focused. And another thing I will say, it's not just the opponents that we're playing; it's that we're going on the road.
Exactly. You're leaving the friendly confines of Reed. And They have been very accommodating at Reed. I will say this: I love the fact that we're seeing crowds over 10,000 for an
Non-conference.
opponent in conference. I know for Will Roberts, we had a home football game the day before, and I'm certainly sure that helped, but it certainly didn't hurt, and it's good to see that that's been getting there.
Yeah,
And
the
I'm
crowds have been great, and that's always been the rule with basketball, right? Aggie
right,
basketball. If you win, we will come, and
exactly.
it's like that because we've never had any. Well, we rarely, and what I'm about to say really is we really haven't had any true sustained success
Mhm.
to where you can build a fan base up over a period of 6 to 8 to 10 years. We've had 2-year runs here and there
Yeah,
that are
and
fun,
well, and
but
even upwards of 4, you look at like Turgid and some of those guys. But I mean, over the years, it's always like little runs. It's never like an extended period of success. And so I really hope that our boy Buzz can really keep the energy going. I mean, I love the guy.
well,
It's
oh
hard not
well,
to root for him.
yeah, as a dude, absolutely, he's fantastic. But then obviously it's also A&M, but he's also
Yeah,
just an amazing person. If you ever catch any
yeah,
of his podcast, but I think what we've seen with Buzz is it was early disappointment because we all expected him to come in here and just change things, right? And sometimes it can be like that, but rarely it is. And this
yeah.
isn't a school where we're not a basketball school, so from a talent perspective, we didn't have like a full cupboard for him to come in and do so. I mean, he immediately had to go to the transfer portal.
Hmm.
Um, he had to figure out really how he wanted to approach the rebuild. But then now we've seen NIT,
Yep.
we've seen tournament selection,
Hmm.
and this year, barring something insane, we should end up in the tournament again. So
Yeah.
now you're starting to see the building blocks of that sustained success, and you get to that, and you'll have 8, 10,000 people for it. Doesn't matter who's in town game.
And that's always great. I mean, that's what we love to see. We talk about attendance numbers, and people always love to talk about A&M as far as a lot of different sports. Obviously, football being a big one, but baseball is generally in the top 5 to 10 in attendance every single season.
Yep.
And if we could get basketball to that point, that would be awesome to see. Obviously, we're not. Reed Arena is not the biggest arena on the planet, but it is a great arena in terms of energy when you get the right people in there. And the Aggies are great whenever we're rolling on basketball.
We could play in a warehouse, and as long as the 12th man showed up, it'd be a rocking atmosphere. Reed Arena is an event center. It's not even a basketball arena as far as I'm concerned. But I mean,
Exactly.
but Aggies make it work.
Hmm.
So that's yeah, I think they make it work. So it's exciting. It's something to put on your calendar for Thanksgiving morning. Have a
Hmm.
watch the parade, get the turkey in the oven, grab a
Hmm.
mimosa, and flip on the eggs.
Yep. And there's also plenty of college football going to be rolling along on that
Right.
same
Yes, it's
avenue too.
well, we'll talk about the whole weekend. We won't just talk about Thanksgiving matchups
Yeah,
because obviously this is rivalry week
it is.
across college football minus Army Navy.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll hop into ours, and then we can kind of just do a dance around of the other games kind of throughout the rivalry weekend, because they crank up on Thursday.
Yeah.
So our game, I wouldn't say that we're wildly successful in Baton Rouge as of late.
Yeah, we haven't been wildly successful in Baton Rouge, honestly, going back to our big run against them late 80s, early 90s. If you look at that stretch of games, I mean, one of the funnier little bits of trivia was LSU actually wanted to get out of that contract after 95 because we just kept beating them. They were
You're beating
sick
the
and
brakes off
tired.
of them.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
were sick and tired of losing to us. It's hard to remember that for some LSU fans. But there was an era where A&M was just rolling through you every single year. So I'm
But since
excited.
we
Yeah,
but since we've been in the conference,
it was a bad stretch the entire time Kevin Sumlin was there. But I will give, if we can give Jimbo Fisher a little bit of credit, he never lost to LSU at home, not once.
yeah, but we still have to get over the hump in Baton Rouge.
We have to.
And man, I don't know that this year looks like the year to do it.
No, but if it,
Offense.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Yeah, so I was going to say, one thing that is playing to our factors here is it is 11 a.m. We're not playing a night game in Baton Rouge, which is, the first time we've done that. You look at the very first year back in the SEC, we played LSU at 2:30. Every single game after that in Baton Rouge was at night.
Yeah, and
So
they're not happy about it.
Oh, they're not very happy about it at all. But what are you gonna do?
They don't like going to football games sober in Baton Rouge.
No, so that might. I'm not say that's gonna be the biggest factor on the planet, but it's gonna help a
The
bit.
crowd in theory won't be into it until LSU gets rolling, because you're talking about the top offense in the SEC.
Yeah,
Jane Daniels is the top passer. He's the second highest rusher.
yeah,
Two of the top five wide receivers in the conference are
yep.
yardage wise are LSU. I mean, you're only here's some optimism. How about that? Let's put it this way. One, I think the kids are having fun. I think they're just going to let it rip and see what happens.
Mhm.
And so, never count out somebody that has nothing to lose.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was going to get at. When you have a team like us, who at this point, I mean, obviously season's done in terms of anything sustainable going forward, but these guys are playing for pride. They're playing for themselves, and I'm very excited to see what Erob might kind of dial up going into LSU. It could be anything. Honestly, I know the line's sitting at 10.5 currently on ESPN for LSU at home. I'd say it's a fair line, especially considering the type of team they are. But
And the type of team we are.
and the type of team we are. But at the same time, I do love the fact we are gonna go into this game, and it's all free. We have no clue what's gonna happen, and it could be fun. We'll see what happens.
If I was thrust into that position, like, basically a couple games left, all of a sudden, like, I go from, code DC to head coach, I would have, and knowing just kind of the history between A&M and LSU,
Yeah.
and knowing, like, dude, nobody's picking you to win. You may as well have fun. I
Mm-hmm.
would probably have like 5 or 6 trick plays like dialed up and written up like for this week. I'd have a ton of fun with it. And the one thing I will say, and here's your other part of optimism, is we're first in the SEC in team defense.
Yeah.
We only give up 286 yards a game.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a clash there
Mm-hmm.
with Jaden Daniels and his talent and our defense kind of refusing to budge, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if my math is right, because I just went on the NCAA side. If my math is right, LSU's defense is 13th in the country, or 13th in the conference.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're giving up they're like 411 and change a game, which,
Yeah.
and we only put up like 405 a game. They put up an extra 150 a game than we do offensively. But if you're gonna hang your hat on anything, it better be defense and energy.
Yeah, I agree. And so, going into this game, obviously not a lot of expectations, but I'm certainly excited to see what we might be able to dial up just in terms of the entertainment value. Could be a very fun game.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors, like you said. The 11 a.m. in Baton Rouge, they aren't keen on that. They generally, I mean, you like to think that they start slow, but the players aren't out drinking, with the fans, so it's a little different.
Yeah.
I hope they do. I hope they go out the night before with the fans and get hammered. Do this varsity blue style.
The thing that kind of crept into my mind was looking at, if we're talking games, look at Necessary Roughness, the very last game. It's like you're playing, the big wigs, old University of Texas going to go out there and make it all the way. Meanwhile, Texas State kind of floundering at this point. Let's go out there and just let it rip. We have the backup coach. Let's have fun with it.
And let it rip on both sides of the ball. Like,
yeah.
You cannot sit back and let this guy pick you apart. It's clear that man can throw the ball. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, send the extra guy, blitz. Yep. Put him under pressure. And I know that means he may take off and run. I mean, this is a unique challenge because this guy's, acting like Tebow, passing and rushing all over everybody. So I think you've got to, and hopefully I don't know. I can't ever put my finger on the pulse of the defensive play calling sometimes. But let it rip defensively too. Just try and get after him, because if he burns you, he burns you. I mean, if you sit back and let him pick you apart, he's going to burn you anyways. So what's the difference? At least maybe you get some sacks, kind of get in his head a little bit. So I just think there's an opportunity to have fun. And again, just kind of play for each other. And you never know. The one thing is, what happens if you lose? Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. I mean, no one's going to sit here and say, oh man, what was A&M thinking? Oh, they should have been. Doesn't matter. We're not the team that everybody's focused on this week. So let's go out there and just throw down.
Yeah.
Let's surprise somebody.
Well, and maybe they'll surprise themselves.
Well, that would be awesome. And I know a lot of people, looking at the E-Rob situation. First off, I love the man. Absolutely love his energy. Love his, what he's been able to do with the players in a short time. And obviously the players love him. And I know a lot of people are almost starting to lean in towards like him hitting the head coaching wheel and try to get in there. From what we were reading in the press conference from Ross, he wouldn't exactly be a candidate because they've said they're not going after any. Yeah, they want experience at the head coaching position, so they're not going to go after coordinators.
Well, and he's technically not even a coordinator.
No, but
so
what I would love to see is potentially, if we wanted to, I know he just signed a contract, but if you wanted to cut ties with Durkin and promote E-Rob to a defensive coordinator position sometime very soon, I wouldn't be opposed to that. But bare minimum, I want the man in town because I love him.
I just want whatever coach that comes in to get whatever staff they want.
Yep. Whatever works.
And if he's a good, smart coach, he'll realize that keeping E-Rob would be a really good idea.
I think so.
That whole saga. This time next week, we should be really close to having a coach.
Rumor has it that we should have a name dropped by I think the 2nd is when the announcement is going to happen in December because they want to get it in before I think NIL and portal stuff opens on the 3rd.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying we could hear something as soon as next week.
Yeah, so that's what they're hoping to get out. So,
all right, let's run. You want to run through the rivalries?
Yeah, sure. We got plenty of good ones. All the good. I mean, not all the good ones, but a lot of the good ones because it is
the rivalry can be good without the game ending up being a good one.
Right. I mean, like Ole Miss, Mississippi State kicking off on Thursday, Egg Bowl. It's always crazy. Granted, Mississippi State fighting for bowl eligibility here against an Ole Miss team that's been letting it rip.
Yeah, Ole Miss is going to absolutely run away with this. Mississippi State's just not good. Ole Miss, what are they, 12, 13, 14-point favorites? Something like that.
Yeah. 11 as of this morning.
Yeah. Trying to think of the other ones. Big 12 tried to put rivalries together, as the conference keeps shifting. TCU's playing at Oklahoma. That's not a rivalry. TCU, I think they need to win to go bowl eligible.
Yep.
So it's a big game for TCU.
It is.
And when there's a million different breakdowns for how the Big 12 could end up with the championship and everything, I have no idea. No idea.
No. And honestly, with a lot of those games on that Friday, it could get really interesting really quick because the only team that can control their destiny at this moment is Texas. And if Texas Tech, God bless them, Red Raiders, I'm begging you, find a way to win that game strictly because I want to see all the kerfuffle happen with them trying to schedule this championship game.
If it were in Lubbock, I'd maybe give Tech an outside fighting shot. But man, Texas playing well. I mean, like it or not, they are.
They are.
But again, I mean, Tech beat them last year.
They did.
So, another game. Did you say Iowa, Nebraska?
I have not said Iowa, Nebraska, but that one's
obviously that's an older school rivalry for us older folks, that know Iowa, Nebraska.
Yeah.
Back like the Pac-8 days or whatever, we go the Big 8, whatever it was called. That's an interesting one because Nebraska needs a win too. They need a win to get to the bowl. For Matt Rule. I think probably maybe one of the most intriguing ones is going to be I don't remember which day it is. Oregon State at Oregon.
Yeah, that's gonna be on that Friday. That one could be very interesting.
Well, what's crazy to me though is Oregon State, they're 2 touchdown dogs in that game.
Yeah.
Like, I get that Oregon's good, but that seems like a bit much.
And especially when it comes to rivalries and this particular game, because let's face it, it's a similar situation to A&M and Texas back in 11. You're ending a long-standing in-state rivalry. And Oregon State going on the road for this one, but they want that one bad.
Oh, absolutely. But again, they haven't won in Autzen Stadium since 05, 06, 07.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been like a decade and a half since they've won at Oregon. So, I mean, great. None of those, those long time statistics literally do mean nothing.
Right.
because obviously this is a way different Oregon State team than we're used to seeing.
Yeah.
Probably the big one I would guess of the weekend. Well, one of the big ones, but big ones that'll be competitive. Maybe is a better way to put it, is Ohio State, Michigan.
Yeah, no, the big game, right? I mean, we're really excited for that one. Obviously, playoff implications are big in that game. With Ohio State ranked 2 and Michigan at 3.
Yeah.
In Ann Arbor. And Harbaugh not on the sideline, so should be a very interesting game.
Yeah, well, this is kind of one of those, hey, Ryan Day, get over the hump if you're an Ohio State fan. And for Michigan, all of a sudden you haven't had a problem with Ohio State last couple of years, right?
Now you've set a trend that, maybe we're swinging this pendulum back the other way.
Yeah, two undefeated teams will enter the arena and only one will leave.
Yep. So that's going to be a really exciting game.
Yeah, exciting, and as far as just again, like you said, the playoff implications. I mean, realistically, you're looking at one of them is just out, unless that's not true but you never know. But a one-loss Ohio State team that didn't get to the Big Ten championship, do they get in over another conference champion? So again, there's still of course there's a million scenarios.
Colorado and Utah. I mean, man, what happened to Dion, man?
Reality.
Yeah.
What happened? I mean, anybody thought he was going to go into Colorado in the first year, win 10 games? It's just completely insane.
No, and you have to feel for some of those fans, because I mean, all those early games, you win those good, tight early games, and you're rushing the field against Colorado State, and you're rushing because you're so excited. You're not a one-loss team.
We're back.
Yeah, we're back, right? It's like we're rolling along, and now you're sitting at 4-7.
Yeah,
and you're playing against a Utah team that's been very good for most of the season. They're not quite where a lot of their fans wanted to be, but they're really wanting to show out. So
yeah, well, I heard OB say earlier this morning. I guess Cam Rising's coming back. It's like his 7th year.
Wow.
Yeah, medical red shirt, COVID. I guess. Well, if you work the system right.
Yeah.
I think there's maybe a couple others to keep an eye on. I don't think the Iron Bowl is going to be one of them.
No, and I will say this in relation to the Iron Bowl. New Mexico State, I'm so damn proud of y'all. Way to go, Aggies.
There you go.
That was their biggest win in program history. First time they've ever beaten an SEC team. And I mean, they got 9 wins in their pocket. The last time New Mexico State had 9 wins was 1965. It's been a long damn time for that team. So I'm very proud of them because they've always been a middling program. And you look at their you look at their facilities, look at the crap New Mexico State's had to go through over the years. I mean, basically kicked out of the Sun Belt because they came in and were just like a satellite just for football, played in the Sun Belt, final season in the league, and they're basically told to go kick rocks. And they win a bowl game that year, which is awesome. But then ran independent for a while, get into Conference USA, and now they're going to the Conference USA Championship against Liberty. I'm pumped for them. What a great turnaround for that program. And they've been doing very well lately. So, but yeah, Iron Bowl, not too worried about that. Washington, yeah.
I was going to say, well, if you're looking to kind of mesh college football games with Texas A&M coaching search,
yeah,
here are the games to watch. Arizona at Arizona State.
Yep.
Let's see, what's another one? UTSA at Tulane.
Yep.
If UTSA wins, they get into the conference championship.
Yep. That will be a very good one.
Washington State, like you said.
Yep. Washington State.
That's gonna be a beat down.
Very, very well should be. Honestly, Florida State, Florida. I know Florida's been a bit middling this year, but it's in Gainesville, and you've got a perfect record coming into that game, so you got to be careful.
Well, and you're a Florida State team that doesn't have their starting quarterback anymore.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't think that Florida does either, but I don't think that's as big of a loss.
No, and yeah, man, that injury that was not great for anybody who ended up seeing it.
Don't look it up.
No, it was pretty rough. And I'm praying it's not as bad as the
It
video
was
was.
it was gruesome.
It wasn't
I
great.
didn't think they'd show it. They say he got injured, and I looked up and they showed it, and I was like, oh,
Mm.
you gotta give me a heads up on that guy.
Hmm.
But the rest of the stuff, like Notre Dame, Stanford, everybody thinks
Yeah.
it's such a great college rivalry, and I just don't care about it.
No, and it certainly felt fallen off since Stanford's kind of cooled off as a program
I can't
recently.
believe that game's still on the board. I think Notre Dame, they got Notre Dame by like 3.5 touchdowns. I'm shocked that that's even still on the board to bet.
Yeah, 25 is the line right now. That's
Oh,
wild. 25. Meanwhile, my personal favorite non-traditional rival that nobody ever talks about is coming up that night though on Saturday. That's Farmageddon, baby. Iowa State and Kansas State.
oh yeah.
Shuck yeah, baby. Let's go. It is all about the corn.
I thought you were gonna pick like one of those completely random like Maxion rivalries.
Oh, see, those are great too, but that one popped up and I'm like, man, I love that game. Farmageddon is a great, great game for those who've not kept up with it. Kansas State and Iowa State do not like each other, and they will give each other so much shit about who has better corn.
Well, right. Well, Kansas and Kansas State, again, if you're, depending on how many names you think are actually in the hat for the coaching search,
Mm-hmm.
both of those head coaches, was it Leopold and Kleiman, however you say it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess we probably get into that to coaching search. We'll get into it a little bit, but again, I think first of all, I think it's being run well. I think it's being run properly to whereas they didn't automatically just have a dude.
Yep.
Like that they singled out and just were deaf to everything else. I think they're actually going about an actual search. They're reaching out to people. Just the longer it goes on, and not that it was going to be sealed up in a week, because if it is, that would have been really weird and probably not a candidate you were hoping to get.
Yeah, probably.
But I think as you keep hearing things come out, and when Ross Bjork is asked and he answered, there's enough tea leaves in there to understand. There's probably some people that maybe you thought were on the list that may not be at all. And there might be some people on that aren't on the list that maybe you were thinking were going to be, because I know we talked about it a ton last week. Like Schumann was at the top of my list. So it's very clear that if you don't have head of coaching experience, you're not on the list. So
exactly.
So, or was that a smoke screen? Do you do the tinfoil hat and be like, he's just saying that to throw us off the scent?
Yeah, I mean, and we both said it. I would love to see him in College Station, strictly because coordinator hires in the past, especially from bigger schools like that, they don't pan out every time, but sometimes if they're the right guy, it's the right guy. And at this point, that's what I want. I just want the right guy, and go get him. It doesn't have to be a super flashy hire. I don't necessarily want the big name. I want the right guy at this point. You already have the facilities. Everything's there.
And man, that's the toughest part behind it, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like the right guy. Who is the right guy? How do we know who's the right guy? Like it's just despite experience and kind of whittling down to I want these are the handful of traits that I require for this person to be a candidate.
Yeah.
Like you just literally never know until they get to the school and things start happening. So I fear that it'll be such a not flashy hire that we'll lose more of the roster than we'd like to.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I don't know how players are going to think and react. You literally never know. And again, not every athlete is a hired mercenary. We need to remember that. So sometimes we need to step back and remember that, there's a really, really good chance that the overwhelming majority of these kids that pick their school, not just Texas A&M, but pick their school, they pick it for reasons that aren't just football.
No, it is football. I mean, it's not always football, and sometimes it is just the coach. Maybe like that was your guy. Maybe there's guys here at A&M that Jimbo was their guy, regardless of result, because they really liked him. They really liked what he was able to bring to the table. That is something that is a factor, and you do see it with every single one of these cycles.
Well, and the guys that are just Jimbo guys, they're going to be gone regardless.
Exactly.
If they were so locked into Jimbo that like that was their reason for coming here, then you're going to lose him either way, and you can't worry about that part of the roster. It's just again, who's the right guy? I don't, we don't sit in these locker rooms. We can see the press conferences, but we don't sit in these locker rooms. We don't sit in these team meetings. So we don't know, what kind of relationship these coaches really are able to establish with their players. So we don't know.
Well, and there's a disconnect between what the fans want and what the players want, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we can sit here and say, I want the guy that he's an Aggie. He gets it. He understands what's going on here. He knows what makes the school tick, those type of guys. That guy may not necessarily be what the players want. The players want somebody that's going to actually utilize them for, their talents and make the most of that, out of them and get them to the next level where they want to be, and that's the NFL.
Yeah. And so there may be a coach that, from our perspective as fans, we're like, man, did you hear that press conference? How lame. Yeah. But if that dude develops dudes and puts them in the league, I don't care if he's good at a press conference.
Yeah. What do they care? Yeah.
Yeah. And you're right. I mean, for the most part, that's really what the players are concerned about is the majority of like your high level players, their concern is getting to the league. It's not their only concern. Don't get me wrong. Again, there are kids that, they believe in themselves. I can get to the league no matter where I go. I want to make sure that I make decisions that are, that are going to affect me once I'm done in the league. If I get to the league, once I'm done in it.
Yep.
So I'm not throwing out names anymore.
No,
I'm just kind of sitting back and letting this process go. And quite frankly, this is Ross Bjork's process to figure out. And if he gets it right, he gets it right. And if he gets it wrong, then when the next guy gets fired, he'll probably go out the door with him.
Exactly. I mean, I think the general consensus amongst the fan base is that this is probably his most important hire that he'll make here. And if he can nail it,
yeah, unless
Loss
wants to rip off back-to-back World Series victories,
which I wouldn't complain about.
Right, but I'm trying to think, like in the scheme of things, that might be the only thing that would save him from going out the door with a failed football coach.
Yeah, I would say so.
But I mean, who hired Jimbo to come here? Wasn't Bjork.
Old Scotty Scott. So
really, this is his first shot on our end of hiring a head coach.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you went and got Breonna Tucker, who's obviously a phenomenal coach.
Joni Taylor.
Yeah, Joni Taylor. Excuse me. No, we go get Joni. She's great. And you get Jim Schlossnagle. So we've got a few ready to rock and roll. I'm curious to see how it'll shake out. So
yeah, and again, I think that's just the one thing that we have to be like incredibly mindful of is, again, one, we don't know who the right guy is because we all thought Jimbo was the right guy, right? That was it, right?
Yeah,
I guess it wasn't. So it's I'm going to sit back. I'm going to let the process kind of go through itself, and honestly, regardless of the name that gets hired, man, it's, your probably two indications would be, how the roster reacts.
Yeah.
But then you won't have any sort of data until this time next year.
Exactly. So
And next year's when more or less the shit hits the fan, right? You know, the full switch into the 2024 brand new SEC, brand new feel of everything.
Brand new playoff bracket, more opportunities to get in the playoffs. And with the roster that we have, one would think that you should be able to get close enough to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Trisha Ford. You know what? I've another one of his hires, Trisha Ford. And Jamie over at volleyball. So he's made some hires, but the reality is the hire that you're going to be judged upon is your football hire.
Oh, especially at a school like Texas A&M. That's
if you're Vanderbilt, it's the baseball hire.
Right.
Everywhere else, it's the football hire.
At Duke, it's the basketball hire. But at the end of the day, it is the football hire at A&M because at the end of the day, that's what we want here.
But it'll be 3 to 4 years before you have any true feedback on whether or not it was the right decision or not. I mean, it sucks that it takes that long, but I mean, it's the truth.
It's all part of the cycle, baby. And so, and that's the other thing to consider for this coach. Next year, all of a sudden, the amount of really, really high-profile football games that you're going to have at Kyle Field next season.
Right.
I mean, you have Notre Dame coming into town. You have Texas coming into town. I mean, you've got big names coming to home games. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be a really cool time, especially reviving that rivalry, which I'm sure we will go really into that once the season starts really ticking towards that direction. But it's an exciting time. We just got to get to these last couple of games and see what happens.
I was watching The Burning Desire last week. Obviously an annual kind of rite of passage tradition, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And it always gets me. There's certain points in that documentary that get me a little emotional, get my eyes going a little bit. But for the first time that I can remember, I was watching it, and Megan was sitting there watching it with me, and just out of the blue, I was like, I cannot wait to play those assholes again.
I know, right?
Like,
Well,
I cannot wait for next year.
Well, and the thing is, and it always goes unsaid, but man, the way the Texas fans at the time reacted to the situation could not have been more supportive.
Oh,
More,
absolutely.
yeah, and it was incredible, and that's something that gets lost as time goes on. I don't think enough people realize. Is you'll see a Texas fan pop off on Twitter, make a bonfire joke. I'm like, nobody would have done that 20 years ago. Nobody would have done that even 5 years ago. I mean,
Well,
that's
yeah, well, I
incredible.
mean, maybe enough people aren't watching The Burning Desire on an annual basis either. Maybe they just be required annual viewing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the rivalry, man. In every
Oh
single
yeah.
sport, every single
Oh.
sport. I cannot wait to play them again. It doesn't matter whether you want it or not, to be honest, because
Mhm.
it doesn't matter what you want at this point. They're coming. They're coming to the conference, so
They're
you may as
coming.
well embrace it. And you may as well get back to embracing that tradition. So
Yeah. They're excited for it. I know the players will be excited for it, and the fans will be excited for it. There's going to be a brand new, renewed sense of incredibly powerful energy around this rivalry from both fan bases now, because so often you'll hear Texas fans say, "Oh, A&M's always been secondary. It's in the background. We're focused. Oklahoma's the big rivalry." Granted, you go on any of their forums, and if it's like an OU thread, it might be a few pages long. Meanwhile, the A&M thread just goes for years and years and years,
threads.
multiple threads. So at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, A&M is a huge rival for Texas. I won't say it's your biggest one, but it's a big damn rivalry. And with our new recent sense of what our program is now and what exists here in College Station for football that now exists in Austin, you have the buddings of what's going to be a very competitive, fun football rivalry going forward.
I can't wait.
I'm very excited. So we'll see how that shakes. So Thanksgiving week, man, I'm very thankful for a lot of things. I know it's been a tough year around this part of the world. Obviously lost in the family. The band life has been just kicking my ass. I love it. It's so much fun, and I'm very thankful for my opportunities, but I'm exhausted. But
You're also thankful for sleep on a Monday.
I am thankful for sleep on a Monday, which is probably what's going to happen as soon as I hit the pause button on this and upload it. So I'm very, very much looking forward to getting some rest this week. And before heading back to New Mexico for Thanksgiving, we're going to go to Tatum, and we'll run out there Wednesday. Plan of attack is actually have a friend of ours, Ashley Thompson, who's a great, wonderful girl. She'll be joining us for Thanksgiving this year. So she'll be running. I'll run up to Denton area, and then we're going to shoot on out that way. So excited for that. And no gig this weekend. Originally, we were going to play Oklahoma City, but Carson looked at all of us Saturday night and said,
maybe we'll sit this one out.
He said, would you guys be opposed to us postponing our show in Oklahoma City? And we said, it's probably fine. So we reached out to the venue. They're cool with it. So we're going to move probably our Oklahoma City show sometime early next year. So get excited for that if you're up in the Oklahoma City area. But yeah, I mean, yeah, Thanksgiving. I'm excited.
Oh, I'm always excited. I mean, this is really, basically today, the Monday before Thanksgiving. If you didn't already feel it, I think we talked about this. As soon as Halloween ends, all of a sudden it's like January 1st.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I just put my Halloween decorations away, which I didn't, by the way. I took them down the very next day. But it always feels like such a sprint, this time of year. And so I'm obviously thankful for my family. I'm thankful, that I'm able to spend some time with my family. I'm thankful my daughter's doing so well at Texas A&M in her first semester. She's absolutely smashing it.
That's awesome.
And changing majors, so she's right on track as a college student. Thankful for things I've been able to do around the house. Thankful for my job. I'm thankful to be employed. I'm thankful for who I work with and who I work for. I'm in such a great situation with Bach Realty Group. And they trust me to be a grown up, which it's impressive, right? No, But yeah, just and as always, I'll say it, I mean it. I'm thankful for Texas A&M. I'm thankful for what it's done and what part it's played in my life.
Same.
Um, and just thankful to be around for the holidays and get to be able to spend it and not be like 20 degrees outside, so it'll be a little bit more enjoyable. And I'm thankful for being able to cook and put food on the table. So
yeah, and I'll reflect exactly off what you said. I am so thankful for Texas A&M University. They were, I mean, if it wasn't for this school, I mean, obviously would not have met you, would not be in the situation that I am as far as playing music. Those things would not exist if I wasn't down here. So very, very happy that I ended up going here and not
pick the right
Oklahoma.
Aggies.
Well, originally it was going to be Oklahoma, and I'm really glad I didn't end up there because as it turns out, I love meteorology, but I don't love math.
I feel like you need to love both of those.
And you have to love both of those if you want to do it for a living. So, yeah, anyway, very, very, very happy to be moving on from that. But very excited. Thanksgiving week. If you are traveling, for the love of God, please be safe.
Yes.
You know, there's so many yahoos out on the road. So you might as well just please be safe. Keep an eye out for those crazies.
Make sure you get to where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously this is a 365 day a year thing, but especially over the holidays, don't drink and drive. Don't get behind the wheel. In 2023, there are way too many options. So just be safe, be mindful of other people's safety. Maybe that's a good way to say, don't drink and drive. I want you to be mindful of other people, that are in their holidays. But don't forget to enjoy it, tell people, why you're thankful. Tell the people you're thankful for, tell them that you appreciate them. That's the beauty of these holidays. And whether you're going to spend it with a family, with your family, or you're somewhere where you can't get home and you're going to go spend it with, with somebody who's kind of opened their house for you to come have Thanksgiving, just enjoy it, embrace the spirit of the holidays. And I love this time of year so much. And, I hope you have something that you can be thankful for in your life.
Yeah.
And again, like we said, though, I'm going to say this a million times, just please be safe. Have just an incredibly safe and wonderful and hopefully relaxing holiday. And before you know it, I mean, we're going to be talking about Christmas shopping. So,
very shortly, I'm sure within a podcast or two, we will be right there. So get ready for that. But very excited to be getting home, to enjoying family. And hopefully everybody will maintain a very safe environment as you do travel home.
Both of us are very thankful for every single one of y'all that listen. We appreciate y'all's support.
Yeah, amen to that. We are very, very happy that y'all listen, and would be very thankful for you to continue to share the word and spread and be sure to let other people know that we are here and we are very
Give us
excited.
so many more reasons to be thankful.
yeah Give us all the reasons to be thankful, but be sure to follow us on our socials. We got Roy May 15 on Twitter, Rob the Slapper on Twitter, both of us on Instagram, as well as the podcast. We are on Instagram, so be sure to go follow us on there. Just a couple of normal men. Just
normal men.
A couple of innocent men.
We're just innocent men. We just want some turkey.
We just want some turkey and maybe a little bit of macaroni and cheese when it's all said and done.
Maybe a little bit of everything.
Just a little bit of everything. We'll take it all. It's all
Don't
great.
forget your band, your social.
Yes, be sure to follow Carson Jeffrey, please. Be sure to also follow Fat Cactus Band on Instagram. We are getting some wheels rolling. The idea that has been pitched, I'm going to just share it out with you. We talked to Miller, who's the manager over at the Tap, and he's very much considering putting us on for some kind of residency, maybe on Tuesday nights at the Tap.
Yeah, as a cover band, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, so
think about how broad your catalog can be.
Oh, well, and see, that's kind of the beauty of it. What the idea being, we would set it up and do like multiple sets, and play like 45 minutes to an hour, take a break, that kind of deal. But set it up where people can like submit requests for songs, and if they pay us even on songs, we'll learn it and bring it back for next week.
Yeah, and you can always do like a Brooks and Dunn night. You can do it. I mean, you can just do entire artists for a night.
No, we could. And that is the beauty of it. There's a lot of different variations to having that kind of built-in category. But our idea was Miller said Tuesday night. So Monday night is obviously karaoke at the Tap, and Wednesday's piano bar. Stick us right in the middle on that Tuesday. And I even came up with a great name for it. I was pretty proud of it. It didn't take much to think on it, but Fat Tuesdays with PH. So Fat
Oh, there you
Tuesdays
go.
at the tap.
Fat
So
Tuesdays with Fat Cactus.
yeah, Fat Tuesdays with Fat Cactus at the tap. You know,
Hey,
that's
can you guys play? We strictly do 80s Billy Joel.
oh man, we didn't start the fire. Anyway, so be sure to come. Yeah, so we will be talking plenty about those coming up. But
Yeah, that's exciting.
yeah, as well as all the excuse me, I'm like dying over here now. But excited for all of the new opportunities coming in for next year. So excited for y'all to check out new music with Carson. And all that great stuff. So be sure to follow us, check us out. Yes, sir.
Don't forget Riv's Real Estate and Ramblings as well, please.
Yes.
You guys
New
wanna hop
episode
on
with
there, you want
Jonna.
to- Yeah, put John out. So we're at that's 17 episodes now.
Yeah.
We've got a couple more that had some video issues, but we got more filming coming up in December. So got some really, really cool guests coming up the next 2 months too. To include I'm just gonna kind of leave it at that.
Yeah, sounds great.
I don't want to ruin it, but yeah, we got some really fascinating people coming on the show.
Go follow that show. Go check it out. So thank y'all.
That's all I got. Y'all have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yep. Gig 'em. Happy
Beat the hell out
Thanksgiving.
of corn dog.
Beat the hell out of corn dog. Have a great Thanksgiving, y'all.